This is the second video of fourth unit, that is network programming. In this video, we will see this INET addressing. Java INET address class represents an IP address. The java.net class net address class provides the methods to get the IP of any host name. For example, www.java point.com, www.google.com, www.facebook.com, etc. An IP address is represented by 32-bit or 128-bit unsigned numbers. An instance of INET address represents the IP address of its corresponding host name. Every computer on the internet has address. This is called IP address or Internet Protocol address. This is unique 32-bit logical address divided into two main parts. One is network number and host number. INET address. The INET address class from java.net package represents the IP addresses. It works with either the host name or numerical IP address of the corresponding host. INET address class offers many useful methods for handling the IP address and the host name. The program make use of method getLocalHost method for finding the IP address of local host name. Java import java.net package. If you want to write a program for networking, you are supposed to import the package java.net package. So after importing this, write this class name, public static void main, string args throws unknown host exception. So it throws networking programs, it throws the unknown host exceptions. INET address and INET address object equals INET address dot get local host. So get localhost system.out.println localhost equal to INET address object. So here in this program, what happened after compiling from Java C, what is the class name? INET add 1 dot Java, and after compilation, you have to run the program Java INET add 1. So it retrieves the what it retrieves? Get local host. So IP address of this is retrieving. Is it clear? So this is INET address is a factory method. Factory method means what? Using the class name you are retrieving the object of that class. Got it? So INET address dot get localhost. So get localhost method is present in INET address. So using this class name, you are retrieving the object of that class. This is called the factory methods. Next, we will see that what are factory methods. Next, one more important thing in Java programming is that that is the definition of main function, that is public static void main throws unknown host exception. That means it must throw the exception for unknown host in order to handle unknown host situation. Hence, precisely unknown host exception should be thrown. And second program, this program shows the use of method that is get by name. Suppose you want to retrieve the site names. So you can use this get by name for getting the IP address of corresponding host name. Host name, if suppose you want to retrieve the host name, you use this get by name method. So net address to public static void main throws the unknown host exception. INET address. So INET address dot get local host, that will retrieve the what IP address. And after that, if you want to retrieve the host name, so you are having the method that is get by name. So get by name method retrieves the host name. So it is retrieved. Is it clear? So that is this one. While running this program, if your computer is not connected to the internet, then it will generate the following output, that is unknown host exceptions. The factory method, that is get all by name. This function is used to find several machines that are associated with a single IP address. Suppose for single IP address, there are n number of machines are connected to that single IP address. In that time, you are using this method get all by name method. There are some cases in which single domain name may be associated with several machines. For getting all the IP addresses related to the host name. See the program here, import java.net package and then class name, main method throws the unknown host exception. So array of inet address, inet address dot get all by name. So this www.microsoft.com, this domain is having the contains the several machines that are associated with this same same domain name. So for that we are using to retrieve these IP addresses, we are using this for loop, that is for int I equal to 0 and I is less than or equal to address, that is the inet address dot length plus I plus plus system dot println address of array of addresses, that will retrieve all this. So all these four machines are connected to this Microsoft.com. That is which method you are using, get all by name. This is an array that retrieves the array of inet addresses. Is it clear? So get localhost, that will retrieve the IP address for a single machine. Get by name, that retrieves the host name. Get all by name retrieves the array of IP addresses. And next is instance method. So what do you mean by this instance method? Instance method in Java is basically a method of the class. In other words, a non-static method which is declared inside the class is an instance method. This kind of method requires an object of its class to created before it can be called. To invoke the instance method, we can create the object of that class, inet address class methods here. So I have written simple program, public, what is the instance method? You have to create the class object, got it? So person is there, person class is there at the top, yes, assume that, and then get set name and set age. These are the instance method. We are calling these methods using the instance of that object. Is it clear? These of the such type of methods are called the instance methods here. An instance method in Java is basically a method of the class. So non-static method which is declared inside the class is the instance method. This kind of method requires the object of its class to create it before it is created. So this suppose this method needs the object of this class. To invoke an instance method, we have to create the object of the class. Object को create करना पड़ेगा ये method को invoke करने के लिए. So these are called the instance methods. So methods and the discussion. What are the instance method in this inet addressing? Static inet address get by address. So byte array of byte ADR returns the inet address object given the raw IP addresses. Static inet address get by name string host comma array of byte address creates the inet address based on provided host name and the IP addresses. Third one, static inet address get by name string host determine the IP address of the host given by the host name. So these are the instance methods. Is it clear? So string get host address returns the IP address, string in textual presentation. Then string get host name gets the host name for the IP addresses. Next static inet address get localhost returns the localhost, and toString converts this IP address to the string. And TCP, IP and UDP. TCP means Transmission Control Protocol, is a connection-oriented, reliable protocol which supports the transfer of data in continuous stream. So I can give the example of this telephonic phone. Suppose if you are called to someone else, you have to establish a connection between sender and the receiver. So that is a word transmission control example for the TCP example. So the connect first the connection is established, then the communication will start. This is called the connection oriented protocol because control information is sent before transmitting any data. This process sometimes called the handshaking. Is it clear? First, the connection is establishing, and then the data will be sent to the receiver. So this is reliable protocol because any data which when get lost or corrected. So the TCP has provision to retransmit it. So this is a TCP is a reliable protocol. The addressing scheme used in TCP is by means of ports. During this communication, the server waits for the client to get connected to the specific port for establishing communication. This type of communication is called the socket programming. Internet Protocol is a major protocol in the TCP/IP suite. It is a connectionless, unreliable protocol which supports the transfer of data in the form of packets. So IP is a connectionless, unreliable protocol. So I can give the example of live example, that is you writing the letter and you are writing the address of that letter and directly you are post that letter. So whether that letter is reached to the destination place, you don't know whether. So that's the same thing. It is a connectionless protocol. The data is transferred in the form of packets. Packets contains the destination address. Whether it is reached or not, there is no guarantee. It is a connectionless protocol. Whether the TCP is a connection-oriented protocol. So that is for TCP. I gave the example of telephonic call. So you can come to know the connection is established. And this is called the connectionless protocol because it does not exchange any control information before transmitting any data. The data is just sent to the destination with the hope of it will reach at an appropriate place. IP is known as unreliable protocol because it does not have the provision of retransmitting the lost packets or detect the corrupted data. The addressing scheme used in IP is by means of IP addresses. IP address is 32-bit unique number. IP addresses are generally written as 4 numbers between 0 and 255 separated by periods. Using the IP address defined in the IP packet header, IP packets can be routed to its destination. Next is UDP, that is UDP is a user datagram protocol, is a low overhead protocol which can be used as an alternative to the TCP protocol. UDP is also connectionless unreliable protocol in which data is passed in the form of datagrams. In IP, the data is passed in the form of packets. In UDP, the data is passed in the form of datagrams. This is called the connectionless protocol because it does not exchange any control information before transmitting any data. The data is just sent to the destination with the hope of that it will reach an appropriate place. There is no guarantee whether it reached the destination or not. With the hope that it will reach the appropriate place. UDP is known as unreliable protocol because it does not have the provision of retransmitting the lost datagram or detect the corrupted data. The addressing scheme used in UDP is by means of ports. On separate ports, the communication can be established concurrently by the system. UDP ports distinct from TCP